It was a bright and lively Saturday afternoon in the peaceful suburban town of Springfield, where life usually moved at a slow, predictable pace. Families took leisurely strolls through the local park, children laughed as they played on the swings, and neighbors exchanged friendly greetings. But little did anyone know, the calm of that day was about to be shattered by a single phone call, one that would set off a chain of events leading to an unbelievable revelation and a moment of instant karma. 17-year-old Malcolm Carter had just one thing on his mind that day: getting the perfect birthday gift for his little sister. He had spent weeks saving up every penny from his part-time job and had finally found exactly what he was looking for: a gorgeous charm bracelet from Golden Grace Jewelers, one of the most upscale jewelry stores in the downtown area. Where are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments below. Excitement bubbled inside him as he stepped through the sleek glass doors of the jewelry store, his eyes immediately drawn to the dazzling display cases filled with shimmering jewelry. His heart pounded with anticipation. But the moment he set foot inside, something felt off. Behind the counter stood Susan Miller, a middle-aged sales associate with sharp, watchful eyes and a permanent scowl. The very second her gaze landed on Malcolm, her entire demeanor changed. Her lips pressed into a thin, disapproving line, and her eyes narrowed suspiciously. Clutching her phone as if it were a lifeline, she tracked his every movement like a hawk circling its prey. Malcolm immediately sensed her tense posture, but did his best to ignore it. Sadly, he had seen this kind of reaction before. Keeping his focus on the bracelet he had carefully chosen, he approached the counter with a polite smile and pointed at the display. "Hi, I'd like to see that one, please," he said confidently. Susan, however, didn't budge. Instead, she folded her arms across her chest, her expression hardening even further. "Are you sure?" she asked, her tone dripping with suspicion. "That one's quite expensive." A tight knot formed in Malcolm's stomach. He knew exactly what she was implying. But keeping his composure, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and held it up for her to see. "Yes, I'm sure," he said firmly. "I have the money right here." Her gaze flickered toward the stack of neatly folded bills, but instead of relaxing, she tensed even more. A flicker of something, disbelief, distrust, crossed her face. Then, with a glance at the store's security camera, she took a step back. "You know what?" she said abruptly. "I think I should call the owner first." "Wait right here." Before Malcolm could even process what was happening, she grabbed her phone. Not to call the owner, but to dial 911. "This is Susan Miller from Golden Grace Jewelers," she said, her voice laced with an exaggerated sense of urgency. "There's a suspicious individual in my store. Young, black, acting nervous. I believe he might be trying to steal something." Malcolm felt his breath hitch in his throat. Did she really just call the cops on him? He was stunned. He had done absolutely nothing wrong. All he wanted was to buy a gift for his little sister. And yet here he was, being treated like a criminal. "Ma'am, I haven't done anything," he said, his voice steady but laced with frustration. Susan shot him a smug, patronizing look. "Then you have nothing to worry about," she said coolly. "The police will sort it out." Malcolm clenched his fists as the distant sound of sirens began to fill the air. Within minutes, 2 uniformed police officers stormed through the doors. "There he is," Susan declared, pointing at Malcolm as if she had just caught a notorious fugitive. "I stopped him before he could rob the store." Sergeant Daniels, one of the officers, immediately reached for his handcuffs. "Son, I'm going to need you to step outside." But before he could finish, Malcolm took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and spoke 5 words that would change everything. "Call my mom. Right now." Susan rolled her eyes and let out a mocking chuckle. "Oh, sure," she said sarcastically. "And who is she? A public defender?" Malcolm didn't respond. Instead, he pulled out his phone and calmly made the call himself. "Mom, I need you at Golden Grace. Now." 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The officers shifted impatiently, while Susan stood with her arms crossed, looking increasingly smug. But then, the store's glass doors swung open, and in walked Special Agent Regina Carter, chief of the FBI's criminal division. Tall, commanding, and dressed in a crisp navy blue suit, she exuded an air of undeniable authority. The moment the officers laid eyes on her, their faces drained of color. Sergeant Daniels audibly gulped, while the second officer instinctively took a step back. Susan, however, remained oblivious. "Oh, thank goodness you're here," she exclaimed, assuming Regina was just another officer. "I caught this young man trying." But before she could finish, Regina held up a golden badge, one that instantly outranked everyone in the room. "I am Special Agent Regina Carter, chief of the FBI's criminal division, and I'm also this young man's mother." Silence. Absolute silence. For the first time, Susan was speechless. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The color drained from her face faster than water swirling down a drain. Regina's sharp gaze zeroed in on the officers first. "You were about to arrest my son. Did you even ask for his side of the story? Did you check the security footage? Or did you just take her word for it?" Sergeant Daniels stammered. "We were just following protocol." Regina's voice dropped to a dangerously calm tone. "Protocol," she echoed. "Protocol means investigating before making baseless accusations. But you didn't do that, did you?" Neither officer dared to respond. Then Regina turned to Susan. "And you," she said, her voice sharp. "You accused my son of stealing because he looked suspicious. Did he do anything illegal? Or was the color of his skin enough for you to call 911? Susan's lips trembled. I was just trying to be careful." Regina didn't let her finish. "Oh, you were careful all right. Careful enough to ruin your own career. Because this?" She gestured to Malcolm's phone, which had been recording the entire time. "This is going viral." Susan's face turned a ghostly shade of white. Please, I didn't mean any harm." Regina wasn't interested in excuses. Turning to the store manager, she asked, "I assume you don't support racial profiling in your business?" The manager, horrified by what had unfolded, shook his head vigorously. "Absolutely not. Susan, you're fired. Get your things and leave."
"Now?"
A shocked gasp escaped Susan's lips. But there was no sympathy in the room. Karma had struck, and it struck instantly. As Susan gathered her things and shuffled toward the exit, Malcolm finally spoke up, his voice calm but firm. "All I wanted was to buy a bracelet," he said. Then, with a slight smirk, he added, "Guess I got something more valuable instead, justice." And with that, the boy she had humiliated walked out with his head held high, while she walked out in disgrace.